Hello everyone and welcome to another very interesting last round game from Norway Chess 2026. In this one we have India number 1 Ramesh Babu Praggnanandhaa taking on Germany's top grandmaster Vincent Keymer. What starts as a quiet queen pawn opening slowly transforms into a strategic battle. So without further ado, let's check it out. d4 knight to f6. Praggnanandhaa opens with d4 and Keymer responds with the knight to f6. c4 e6 heading into queen pawn territory. Knight to f3 and d5. Black immediately stakes a claim in the center. Now comes e3 and bishop to e7, a flexible setup. Neither side reveals too much early. Knight to c3 and castling on the king side. Development continues naturally. C takes d5, e takes d5. Pragg exchanges in the center. The symmetrical pawn structure suggests a strategic battle rather than a tactical slugfest. Bishop to d3 and knight to c6. And both sides complete development. And now comes h3, a very modern move preventing bishop to g4 and maintaining flexibility. Bishop to d6, Keymer develops actively. The bishop eyes important kingside squares. Kingside castling and rook to e8, preparing central breaks. And now white plays rook to e1 and h6, a useful waiting move preventing bishop to g5 ideas. a3, Pragg begins queenside expansion and bishop to e6, developing and connecting rooks. And b4, the first ambitious move, Pragg gains queenside space and a6, Keymer immediately questions white expansion and bishop to b2 and a queen to d7. Both players improve their pieces, the position remains balanced. b5, Pragg advances, the queen side tension increases. A takes b5, Keymer decides to clarify matters. Bishop takes b5, white keeps active piece play. Queen to e7, a flexible queen move, and knight to e5, a very strong central outpost. The knight occupies an excellent square. The bishop takes a3, an interesting decision. Keymer grabs the bishop. This initiates a sequence leading to structural changes. And bishop takes a3 and rook takes a3. The rook enters actively. And bishop takes c6. Pragg eliminates the defender. And rook takes a1. The rook continues exchanging. We have queen takes a1 and pawn takes c6. The smoke clears. Material remains balanced. The position is roughly equal, but white's pieces appear slightly more active. Knight takes c6, a nice tactical pickup. Pragg wins a pawn temporarily. And queen to d6, the queen centralizes. And here comes knight to e5, the knight returns, white keeps the initiative. Rook to c8, a logical rook activation, and rook to b1, supporting the queen side. c5, Keymer strikes in the center, the thematic break, and knight to b5, a strong square. The knight becomes very annoying. And now queen to f8, defending carefully, and d takes c5. Pragg captures, opening the position. Now bishop to f5, developing the tempo. Rook to b3, a very instructive rook lift. Pragg improves his rook and prepares defensive as well as attacking duties. Now queen takes c5, Keymer regains the pawn. And now the game is entering the endgame. Knight to d4, excellent centralization. Now queen to c1 check, forcing simplification. Queen to c1, queen takes c1 and rook takes c1 check. Queen comes off, an important transition. Now techniques becomes everything. King to h2, stepping away from checks. Bishop to e6, the bishop improves. And now rook to b6, a very active rook. Pragg immediately seeks activity. A rook to f1, the rook infiltrates. At first glance, black seems active. The position remains balanced. And now comes the excellent move, f4. Pragg gains space and limits black's pieces. And h5, and here comes the losing move, a serious blunder by Keymer. The engine evaluation jumps dramatically. The correct move was knight to e4, maintaining counterplay. Instead, h5 weakens critical squares and allows white pieces to become extremely active. Pragg immediately senses his chances. Rook to b8 check, a precisive check. The rook becomes very active. King to h7. This one is a force move. Knight e to f3, excellent coordination. Both knights are now ready to jump into the attack. And knight to e4, Keymer searches for activity, but white already controls the position. Now comes f5, a powerful breakthrough. The pawn storms forward. Black's kingside begins to collapse. Bishop to d7, defending, and rook to d8, a small inaccuracy. The engine prefers rook to f8 for maximum pressure. Still, white remains clearly better. Bishop to a4, activating the bishop. Knight to e5. The knight jumps into the center. And g6, another mistake by Keymer. The engine wanted g5 to hold things together. Now black's king become increasingly vulnerable. And here comes the tactical conversion. Rook to f8, beautiful rook move. The rook invades, black's pieces are tied down. And knight to d6, the defending move. And here comes f takes g6 with a check, a key breakthrough. The pawn sacrifices itself to open lines. King to g7, which is a force move. Knight to e6 check, a strong tactical shot. The knight jumps with a check. Every white piece is now active. F takes e6, that also is forced. The knight is eliminated, but black's structure is shattered. And then comes rook takes f1. And now Pragg wins the exchange sequence. White emerges with a completely winning position. And bishop to e8, trying to hold the position. And king to g3, centralization, a hallmark of strong endgame play. And bishop takes g6. Black recovers a pawn, but the evaluation barely changes. The position remains winning for white. King to f4, the king marches forward, exactly what strong players do in endgames. And h4 plays Keymer, trying for counterplay. Rook a1, the rook becomes active. And now knight to f7, and knight to f7, a defending move. Rook to a7, a beautiful rook invasion. The 7th rank is often decisive. King to f6, black attempts to activate the king. And now comes knight to g4 check, another precisive move. The knight joins the attack. And king retreats back to g7 and rook to e7. And it was in this position Keymer resigned. After rook to e7, white's position is completely dominant. White is having an active king, active rook on the 7th rank, superior knight, better pawn structure, and black tied to a passive defense. So the engine gives white a winning advantage, and Keymer sees no realistic way to save the game. And that's the game, masterclass in strategic pressure from Praggnanandhaa. The position was balanced for a long time, but once Keymer played the unfortunate h5, Pragg seized the initiative and activated every single piece and converted the advantage with remarkable precision. So if you enjoyed this analysis, do give the video a like, subscribe to my channel for more chess content, and as always, thank you for watching. I'll see you in the next one with another very interesting game.